Welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at Jacinio Tweets. Where's the little thing? Let me put this down. Jacinio Tweets. There you go. And at SheKnowsArsenal. Welcome, guys. So we won a game. How about that? How about that? Just when you think all is lost, Arsenal turned it around and win a game in a very unlikely scenario. And so it looks as though we are still right in the thick of the top four race. Man, we needed that win. We needed it, and we needed it badly. And I just have to say I'm very, very proud of the team. I think that, yeah, like a lot of fans were losing faith in the team after those three losses on the bounce, and some faith in Arteta as well. And I do think that the criticism of the team in that moment, in that three-game winless streak, was valid. But at the same time, maybe this team can't rebound was premature. And I do feel like, as somebody that was feeling very checked out of the season before this game, I just thought, here we go again. We get to a position where we could do something really great and we just bottle it. I couldn't be happier to see that the team proved me wrong. And I have no problem saying that I counted them out too soon. And the players showed a different light in this game. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't slick. It was rough. That I think that game was rough, and it was just an odd game from two teams that tend to be very organized and defensively solid. That was a very sloppy game from the two teams, but we showed a different face. We showed we showed something different that I don't think the Premier League has seen from this Arsenal team at all this season. We can come back from, being equalized twice by Chelsea. We can run in behind. We can press and pressure and be this energetic side. We haven't showed that in a while. We've been very regimented and very organized, but we did something different, and I think that's why we got the result. We tried something else. And before the game, there was a lot of criticism around the lineup, but Arteta probably felt like he needed to continue to sort out and find a way to win a game, because even though we played better against Southampton than we did against Brighton, it still didn't feel like that was the solution. And I don't think, El Neni and Xhaka and in midfield and Ben White is the solution for Arsenal long term. But in this moment where we're really lacking some of our key figures, this might be a way to just solidify things, use Nuno to the best of his ability, and use maybe somebody like Nketiah and his energy to show the Premier League something different that they haven't been prepared for, since we kind of felt like we've been found out a little bit earlier on in the season. There's about 80 of you guys watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If you guys are shitting on me and telling me how wrong I was for being so pessimistic, get in that chat box and let me know, because I am here for it. Matt G says, I had to give up hope of CL football, classic Arsenal to make me hope again. I mean, it's the hope that kills you. And again, I do think that the criticism was valid, and people feeling disillusioned with the whole thing. I can't blame anybody for feeling that way. But I think it was up to the team to show us that they could continue on in this fight. And I think we'll be a little bit less maybe gung-ho, maybe a little bit more humble this time around, to realize that you can be the favorites one moment and be completely out of it the next. Let's just take it game by game. Happily Egg says El Neni had a decent game. He did. The midfield, I thought, played quite well in this game. Let's see. Just Incredible says Arsenal keep their CL hopes alive, but I thought I was talking crap when I said it's not over, and I thought you said the season was done. I did think the season was done. It felt like it. I mean, in a moment where the team really doesn't look like they're scoring any goals and can't beat teams that they should be beating. I feel like, you know, you can feel like things are over. And the criticism of losing 3 on the bounce and losing 4 out of 5 is valid for the manager. I won't take that back. But in terms of maybe not giving this team enough credit, um, I do think that maybe I was a little bit harsh on them at first. But yeah, at Arsenal Football Club, if you lose 4 games out of 5, you're bound to get criticism, and you should. Our standards should be higher than, oh, it's okay just to lose 3 on the bounce. Like there there weren't teams that we couldn't have beaten. And I do think that there were some mistakes that Arteta made that led to those losses, and the choices that he made in this game led to the win. And so you give credit where credit is due, but you also criticize where criticism is due. Um, I think we have a hard time finding that balance, to be honest. Hugh says, I still worry about Arsenal. Our inconsistency is very apparent. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's when we're doing bad, all is lost. It's gloom and doom. And when we win, the sun is shining and we can't lose a game. It's somewhere in between. It's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is. So there you go. Let's see. Mackenzie Edwards says, I think we failed to realize that we're in this top 4 race, who we're in this top 4 race with. There's just something different about this team that I love. I don't think we can say it's over till it's over. Fair enough. And the other teams are bad. You know, they are going to drop points, just like Spurs drop points to Brighton. We can also drop points. So I think for me personally, I think I just want to be a little bit more somewhere in between. I think that anything could happen at this point. And that's what's kind of exciting, right? Sports will throw you a curveball when you least expect it. That's why we like the game, because we never know what can happen. And our never know what can happen happened yesterday. And that was awesome. Yo-Yo says, you got to love how most of Arteta's most notable wins came at the expense of Chelsea. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about, I thought they really were disrespectful with the lineup that they put out there. I know that they have a final coming up next month, or, you know, in the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, you still need to win games. And I feel like he put out a lineup that was very like, Arsenal suck. And so I don't need to worry about them doing shit against us. And it backfired massively on Tuchel. And so, yeah, we will talk about that a little bit more. C. Wilder says, I feel like Eddie still doesn't quite have the consistency at the top level. I take no pleasure in saying that. I was certain he was going to grow into our 9. That's the thing about making game by game assumptions. Eddie played really well in this game. We also had more space in this game. We usually play against teams that like to sit off of us. We don't have that amount of space. So we have to remember that Eddie was somebody that the fan base was down on because of his prior performances. So this is one game, and just keep that in mind. Like, I would not expect him to have the same exact type of impact in the next game and the next game and the next game. He was a new quantity that nobody really knew about. We're playing in a way that really suits us and suits him, and that's not going to be every single game. So I would keep my expectations of Eddie as of this moment very, like, give him the plaudits and the, you know, give him the praise that he deserves at the moment, but I wouldn't up my expectations of him, because we have seen him not have performances like this. That's about, like, finding the balance is so hard. As at the back end of a game, it seems like all of your players are perfect again after a win, perfect again. But we've seen them stumble and have wobbles. So I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't score in the next game. But I'm hoping that he does, and I hope that he plays, because he deserves to get the start. So yeah, let's see. I want to show you guys something really quick. This is not it. This is a part of my little thingy. Hold on, what's going on here? Hold on, you guys. Let's remove that. I have something that I want to show you guys, but it didn't save properly. So just give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's see. Oh, now Canva is like giving me a super hard time for some reason. Because I had saved something and I wanted to show you guys. Okay, so it won't let me. Let me try it one more time. Sorry, you guys. I don't know why it's not working, but I want to show you guys something. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's try this instead. I know it's not as good, but okay. So I hope you guys can kind of see this. So this is my favorite part of the game, my favorite moment of the game, and you're probably like, why does this matter? You see the arrow? Do you see who that's pointing at? That's Harry. If you guys have been here on the channel for a while, you know somebody that comes on the channel quite often is Harry, the DJ. And that's him celebrating Nketiah's second goal. And that was my favorite part of the game, just seeing his face because, being where I am, like I don't get to go to games and being in stadiums. I've never been in an away stadium before. And it must have been such a amazing moment to see Eddie Nketiah get those goals and for the team to rebound in the way that they did away from home in a difficult circumstance after 3 losses on the bounce. And I will say that Harry has been nothing but super positive around this team in this time. He's always kind of felt like the next game was the one, the next game was the one. And he was telling me that, like, it's not over until it's over. Look at his face, you guys. Can you see that? He is so excited. And when I rewatched the game this morning, I saw him like celebrating in real time. And it was just, it was so nice to see. I can't wait to get that moment. You know what I mean? To actually go to an away match and see them win a game live. But yeah, like that Harry was just he looks so excited. So yeah, that's him and that's his dad next to him. I know you guys just love Harry. His energy is amazing. I'm sure that he was excited when Granit Xhaka had his did his nutmeg on the edge of the box to get us at the beginning of ESR's goal, because we all know that Harry's a huge Granit Xhaka fan. So that was my favorite moment of the game. You guys let me know in the chat box what your favorite moment of the game was, because there was a lot of them. So let me know in the chat box what your favorite moment was. Here's another moment. I'm sure you guys have all seen this going around on socials. And I pulled this one up as well. Arteta's what is his face? What is this face from Arteta? What is it? I don't know what it means. But Arteta gets a lot of praise for this game. I thought he was brave in this game. Starting Eddie Nketiah again, going with a young front four and bolstering that young front four with experience in the middle, changing the shape, bringing Rob Holding in, putting Ben White at right back, and sticking with Nuno. Bravery, smart, worked. And so he deserves a lot of praise for this game. There's a lot of pressure. I never got the idea that the players weren't playing for him. They're going through a bad moment, obviously. So yeah, Arteta, I think, did something that kind of got people back on side that were kind of losing faith in him, which is fine. Josh says, I am so vexed at Arteta for not using these players in the last 3 games or tweaking his tactics according to the opponent. Do you think Arteta's experimentation costs us in the crucial moments? So again, when he gets it wrong, he deserves criticism. And I think the game that I felt like he got it wrong was Brighton. Crystal Palace, that could have easily just been a game where we just put it behind us. It was a bad moment. There was nothing wrong with our lineup there. We just didn't have Tierney. The guys had come back from international break. And what we had been doing before that was working. There were some people that were saying that we should have moved things around because we looked like we had gotten found out, and Lacazette seemed like he was losing steam. But overall, I don't think you could look at the Crystal Palace lineup and say we should have done something different. Brighton is really where I think he made the mistake. And that was with the Granit Xhaka at left back, keeping Sambi in a isolated position in midfield with Odegaard and Smith Rowe. That wasn't going to work. We could have seen that. And so he cost us 3 points. He really did in that game. Against Southampton, he went back to something that looked like Arsenal, but we didn't get the breaks. We had plenty of chances. We didn't put them away. They come down one time and score a goal. I don't think I could say that against Southampton I wanted anything massively different. And then in this game, he did the right thing. The combination of all those losses obviously becomes a lot of frustration, especially because of how close we were to top four. But if you isolate those 3 moments, you can only really say that the Brighton match was the one where he got the lineup so wrong. And he made the right switches. I mean, I think some of us were saying, move Ben White to right back so that you can have a pseudo back three to support Nuno because he likes to go forward, because he's not really a fullback, he's more of a wing back. And so that was something that seemed very obvious that maybe he wasn't doing. And then I don't think you can start both Nuno and Sambi. I think maybe he's learned that, and it's easier to support with what we have to support Nuno than I think support Sambi, because central midfield is so hard. And bringing in El Neni was the right thing. I do think maybe he could have went to El Neni a little bit sooner. Like as soon as Thomas went out, he probably should have went to El Neni. But I don't think it was so obvious because I didn't see a lot of calls for it. So I think he only really got Brighton super wrong. Blaze says Harry deserved this because of the way he believed in the team. Yeah, for sure. Yo, that win is on Arteta. That lineup worried everyone outside of the stadium. Yeah. Can I also say that, like, it's very apparent that there's a difference in the fans that actually go to games and the fans that are on Twitter, because they were singing the Mikel Arteta song from minute one. And so I think we kind of, especially because I'm always online and I'm never in the stadium, that the feeling of Arsenal fans, or the narrative, or what Arsenal fans are really like and how they actually feel about the team and the manager, is not reflected with what's going on Twitter. And they were 100% behind him, behind the team, believe that we can get a win, and they were excellent in that away stand. So you got to give a lot of credit to the away fans, because they probably had something to do with it. And us on Twitter that are just out here just we don't actually represent the fans at large, and I think that that's a good thing. I do, and I count myself as somebody that's like an online fan that doesn't go to the game, so maybe doesn't understand what the feeling really is within the fan base that actually goes to match days and stuff like that. But Harry is a good representation to me of what a match day fan is, and they are generally more optimistic than fans online. Let's see. TJ Emerson says it wasn't even the right lineup. What are the fans talking about? He won, but they're acting like he picked the right team. It wasn't even the right lineup. What are the fans talking about? He won, but why are they acting like he picked the right team? What do you mean? I genuinely don't understand what you mean. So it wasn't the right lineup? What was the right lineup? And how is it not the right lineup if we won the game? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. So it was the right lineup. So let's see. Callum says, did you see Saka holding Azpilicueta's arm for the pen? I'm not complaining, but what an awesome performance. Yeah, we definitely are going to talk about that towards the end. Azpilicueta was rattled. That also the moment that they showed after the game where he was going at it with fans in the in Stamford Bridge, some of the Chelsea fans. He was, but I mean, this is the second time that he's given us a penalty, like the one that he had in the FA Cup final. Like, he's good for giving us a penalty. I love it. Saturdays equals youth says, my favorite moment, Azpilicueta furious at being outsmarted by Saka for the penalty. So yeah, there were so many good moments in this game. I do want to start off with Chelsea's disrespect. I think this is why they lose to us quite often. in these most recent matchups is because they don't respect us, and they do things like put out silly lineups, and they don't play hard, and they just don't. And I didn't feel like there was any reason for Tuchel to not play a better team against us. He may feel like top 3 or top 4 is sewn up, or his third place spot is sewn up, but I just feel like no manager really goes out with a lineup like that. I know that Rudiger was injured, but he could have played Thiago Silva. He chose to play Malang Sarr and Reece James and Christensen against us. From the moment I saw Chelsea's lineup, I thought, wow, they actually don't rate us at all, and we have a chance. If you did watch Arsenal Vision, I was concerned about our lineup, but at the end, I did say that I do think we could get something out of this game, because if you look at that back line, that is a back line that you can get at. The moment I didn't see Rudiger, I knew we had a chance. Azpilicueta is a little bit on the older side. He had him playing at wing back. I found it strange that Caesar, whatever, Dave, whatever, Azpilicueta was playing right wing back and Alonso was playing left wing back, but Sarr and Reece James were playing center back. I thought that just none of that really made sense. He went with Conte and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, so there was no technical quality in their midfield, which made it, I think, a better matchup for Elneny and Granit Xhaka. And he went with Lukaku. So you could tell that he really did not rate us at all. And I get that he might have wanted to rest his players, but you don't rest your players against the Arsenal. Like, come on. So that was definitely something that was like, damn, they really don't rate us. But at this point in the season, I don't really care what's going on. Like, Chelsea fans were coming out of the woodwork saying, you beat our B team. We didn't have our real players out there. Right now, it's about accruing points. It doesn't matter. And that's kind of where we're at. Like, we can go, like, at the end of the season, we can talk about whether or not we've really improved, what we think about the manager, are the players good enough, all of that. But we're in the business end of the season, and any advantage that a team gives us, we have got to take advantage of it. And I'm so glad we are not leaving this match saying, wow, we had a really good opportunity to beat a weakened Chelsea side. I don't care if that's their best side or not. You guys know I'm shameless. I don't care. Whatever players are out, whatever injuries, COVID, whatever, I don't care. Whatever advantage we can get, I want it. I don't need to play against the best of the best. I need to get the points. And so I'm glad that we did that. And Chelsea disrespecting us, like, even with Tuchel, like, and we'll talk about Tommy's tears after the game, you know, at the end. But I think that he really underestimated us and disrespected us to a point where at the end of the game, he had to act as though we did nothing to win that game. They may have made it easier for us by making individual errors, but we had to take advantage of them. And we did play some good football during that game, and we pressed them in the right areas. Our tactics were spot on. And so I know that he wanted to kind of throw shots at us and also throw shots at his players, but we deserved that win, and we had a part to play in it. They didn't just kick the ball in the back of their own net. We had to do things. Let's see. Chike says that's why he put the lineup that we all saw. He wants Arteta to stay because he knows you are not a threat while Arteta is still manager. That is absolutely embarrassing that he doesn't rate Arteta. I think you're overthinking it. I don't think Tuchel is putting out lineups to keep Arteta in the job so that we can continue with Arteta. I think you've completely overthought it. He did that because he just didn't think that we could. I think he overrated his side and underrated ours because we had been in bad form. But I think you've completely overthought that. Travelli says blaming the pitch is cover for his players. Yeah, I mean, he said that. That's why he took out Christensen. He took out Christensen because he was crap. Like, you know what I mean? So let's see. Just Incredible says Tuchel said yesterday that we only scored 1 goal and the other 3 Arsenal goals were really Chelsea own goals. Yeah, he's trying to throw shots at us as well, but we won that game, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I thought that was funny. It's 3 points and we move on, just like iGamer says here. I saw it. Where did it go? I know I saw you, iGamer. You said 3 points and we move, and that's all that really matters. Who really cares? Chike, if you're looking for Lee Gunner's channel, it's somewhere else on the internet. This is not his channel. So I get this, like, Standards FC is feeling some type of way because Arsenal fans are happy that we beat Chelsea and our standards are so low. But we won a game. We should celebrate it. We're still in the top four race. Move on. Like, literally, the fact that you're saying that Thomas Tuchel decided to put out a weekend lineup to keep Arteta in the job just shows how galaxy brain and how you guys are trying to go, you're thinking too hard. You're stretching your brain out. Like, you don't need to do all that. Like, we got 3 points. Like, who cares? Happily Egg says Tuchel absolutely underrated Arsenal. He thought with Party out and no striker, it would be a walkover. Exactly. And so, like, at this point, they do have a game in hand, but like, the chasing pack is only 5 points behind them. And I did watch a couple of Chelsea channels yesterday to see kind of what they were thinking, and some of them are worried that they may slip into the top four race because they don't seem focused, because there's nothing else really to fight for, no Champions League, and they're just waiting on the FA Cup final. So I do think, like, let's just come on, like, let's just enjoy it for what it is, you know. But he did underestimate us, and that's ultimately why I think we had a really decent chance in that game. Going into Arsenal's lineup, how were you guys feeling? I feel like there was, like, an overall consensus on um, social media that that was not a great lineup. But I mean, if you really think about it, like, people don't really rate El Nene that highly. He's just average. Like, I think he's average, but he plays really hard, but people don't really want to see him. Seeing Rob Holding, that's automatically like oh my gosh, Rob Holding. But I do think that he adds something when we play the way that we played, like almost like in a back three. He does a decent job. Keeping with Nuno, I don't think there was any other choice but that. I think a lot of Arsenal fans were okay with keeping on with Nuno. But I think the most, like, oh my gosh, was Eddie Nketiah. Like, obviously, because he just hasn't really shown us much since playing, and he hasn't played a lot of games, so you have to take that in consideration. But when he has played, especially in the Premier League, he hasn't really been able to, like, put his stamp on a game and really, you know, make us feel like he's a Premier League level or an Arsenal level striker. And so seeing him in such a big match, I do think that it was justified to feel a little bit like, wow, this is a weak lineup and it's not our strongest lineup. That being said, I do think you can close the gap on some of these teams if you just play hard, you play to your strengths, and you show intention. And we close the gap by not trying to play so technical and without all the little triangles and just putting them in positions that they don't want to be in. I think we played best when we break up play, we play on transition, we play quickly, and we get the ball into our wing forwards and they drive at defenders and we just do a neat cutback. We've looked best in those scenarios. And that's the scenario that we had yesterday, where when we have to play against teams that sit off of us, we really struggle. We overthink things. There's not enough space to create the gaps for us to play in. But in the games that I think that we've played the best this season, which were against, like, Man City and parts of the Liverpool game, we just were a lot more direct. We got defenders in positions that they didn't want to be in. We didn't make it easy on them. And I thought Eddie Nketiah, what he did add in this game was that being a pest. He's very annoying. Like, if you're a center back, you really don't want to have to play against Nketiah because he just continuously he bumps you. Sometimes that results in unnecessary fouls, but he gets in and amongst players and makes it difficult. And he has the ability to hold up the ball, but also play off of the shoulder and run into space. We saw that I think there was one opportunity where it was a long ball, kicked long, and he just got it and just kind of brushed our side, and he was wide in that moment. And I think he showed some versatility in this game that we haven't seen from him. He's still not going to, like, just be out there beating a man and all that kind of stuff, but he showed what he can do, and that's all you can really ask from Eddie Nketiah at this point. He's out of contract, you know, so there you go. Let's see. Trevelli says Eddie worked his ass off. Laka gets nowhere near that first goal. Yeah, I mean, I think you could just see what the difference is just having somebody up there with some sort of presence. Now, it was Reece James, Christensen, and Malang Sarr. So keeping that into consideration, if you go up and play against like Van Dijk, he probably wouldn't get a sniff, but that level of opposition, he can do something against. So let's see. Happily Egg says Arteta did a good job of compensating for missing party. He shuffled Xhaka and Elneny well in attack. Once they got the midfield bank organized in defense, you were solid last 25 minutes. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So let me bring this back in. Let me see. I really wish it would have saved normally, like the way I wanted it to. So yeah, Eddie, do you guys think that with the 2 goals that he scored that he should start the next game? Or did you see something in Martinelli at the end of the game that let you feel like maybe he would be a better option centrally against Man United? Because I think Eddie deserves the start, but I still see people saying that Martinelli showed enough. And I have to say, I feel like I'm kind of on the other end of that. I'm not really sure that I saw enough from Martinelli through the center that would make me choose him over Eddie. But where do you guys sit with Eddie and Nketiah? I don't think anybody's going to change their mind around like, should we give him a new contract? Like, should he be our backup striker? But in terms of like from now until the end of the season, has Eddie done enough in your mind to keep the shirt through the weekend? Or do you think that Arteta might revert back to Lacazette? Because I was thinking before the game that this was kind of like, okay, let's try to nick a point against Chelsea, and then we'll play Martinelli and Lacazette against United. Would you guys be disappointed to see Lacazette start? What do you think? Um, uh, the Onyx Lens says if we beat United, I forgive them for the last 3. No, I feel you. You have to beat United, right? Trevelli says, nah, it's Eddie's job to lose. Callum F says, yes, I would start him. Tisha says, keep Eddie. Trevelli says, Martinelli gives us pop off the bench also. Yeah, I mean, I also think that this is one of the first games that I've seen Smith Rowe start where he started over Martinelli, and I thought he made a really good case to start over him. I think lately, I don't know if he's been struggling with something or he's had a knock or whatever, but I just haven't felt like his energy was really up to snuff. Like his finishing wasn't great. And I know Martinelli's finishing hasn't been amazing, but if you have 2 players that are kind of struggling to put the ball in the back of the net, I'm going to choose the guy that's at least going to put the opposition under more threat. And you just see that Smith Rowe is a completely different player than Martinelli. They have different qualities, but I do think that ESR did enough to keep the shirt as well, which is going to be interesting for the Man United game. Gamer says keep him in the lineup. Just Incredible says Nketiah should play. He's playing well now because he's desperately looking for a club that benefits us right now. You would think Lacazette would do the same. Ray says Eddie deserves the start without a doubt. Martinelli is not quite ready for the number 9. S says Eddie is way better 9 than Martinelli. Yeah, I mean, we got to see a little bit of like what people wanted to see. They wanted to see Martinelli, Saka, ESR, and Odegaard. And I do think game state plays a huge part in this, but there were times where we kicked it up to Martinelli and he didn't hold on to it the way Nketiah did. And so I feel like Eddie needs to keep the shirt for now. And maybe Martinelli isn't quite ready to lead the line, but that doesn't mean he can't do it in the future. But he's probably better out wide at the moment. Olivier says Eddie said if he wants to start to score, and he did. So he starts on Saturday. Yeah, for sure. Billy says if Eddie scores another 7 to 8 goals and fires us into the top 4, should we keep him? It's really up to Eddie. I think the club, or especially Arteta, did want to keep him. I think Eddie wants to leave because he wants to get more playing time. So I don't think he was like if I'm remembering correctly, he was offered a contract and he rejected it because he wants playing time and he's not getting it. So I don't really think it's up to the club. I think it's up to Eddie. But we're going to buy a striker, maybe even two, because we'll lose Lacazette and Aubameyang, and we've already lost Aubameyang. So I don't think there's guaranteed minutes for him. But would I like die if Eddie was one of our options? No, but I still do think that we might need better. But again, maybe he is better if he scores those goals. I don't know. Rancid says Eddie has to start. He deserves it after the performance yesterday. I think all of us kind of agree with that. Seawalder says, will it be Maguire and Jones? It may be Maguire and Varane. I just saw a report that Ronaldo's back, Scott McTominay is back, and Varane is back. So I could see it being Varane. I could see them rushing him back because the Jones, Maguire, Lindelof experiment didn't work against Liverpool. So that will add a different dynamic. Maguire and Varane are better. I like, are they? I think they're more physical than the center backs that he played against in the Chelsea match. So that could make a difference, and that might make Arteta. But he can't drop Eddie now. He can't bring Lacazette back in. If he does that, it'll be wild. It really would. So I'm really happy for Nketiah, to be honest, because he put out that interview, and he spoke very clearly about what his intentions were and what he really wanted for his career, and he delivered in the moment that he got, and that's all you can really ask for. And so if anything, I hope that if he doesn't stay, that he gets the move that he wants, and his career is great, for him. I have no like ill feelings towards Eddie or anything like that. It may not work out for at Arsenal for him, but I still want him to do good, because he is Hale End after all. Even though he did come from Chelsea's academy, they rejected him because he was too small, and that level of perseverance and believing in yourself can't go unnoticed. Somebody will pick him up and will use him for sure. So yeah, but Eddie, his first goal, I thought was exactly what we needed to kind of get the jitters off. Like, we know that it was sloppy at the beginning. Those first couple minutes was like, can we pass the ball? But Christensen's error and his capitalizing on it, because I really don't like when people say like, oh, well, they just gave us the goal. Like, they gave us an opportunity, but we have to take advantage of it. And Eddie did that. And like somebody said earlier, Lacazette doesn't get near that ball. He's nowhere near. And Eddie just harassing Christensen Christensen was not there 100%. Just somebody harassing you will make you make a mistake. So I do think Eddie's first goal was exactly what we needed. And I just didn't even think like, well, let me just say this, by that time I'd already had like 2 glasses of champagne. So I was like, oh my gosh, Eddie scored. But it was like wild. But I thought the goal was great. I really did. Because it's something that we just don't do very often. Hefty says Eddie finally hit his muscular maturity this year, just like how Willock did a couple years ago. He's been at this level since 2019, but his body had to catch up. Fair enough. So after Eddie's first goal, obviously, like, Timo Werner got a very lucky goal a couple minutes after that. And I thought it was kind of like one of those where it was like super lucky. But did anybody think that Ramsdale should have been done better for that goal? I saw a lot of people like, Ramsdale, you should have done better. Ramsdale, like, I don't know if I really feel that strongly that Ramsdale should have done so much better because of the deflection he was going towards. I feel like this is the second goal that's happened like that for Ramsdale, where, what game was that? Where it was a deflected goal and he was like going towards where he thought the goal was going to go in, and then it deflected so viciously and he was just out of position. But does anybody feel like Ramsdale should have done better for that goal, or maybe we just weren't tight enough, like, or it was just unlucky? Yo-Yo says the ball retention was horrific until the third goal. It really was. I was like, what are we doing? But I think also you're playing in another system. You're nervous. You have people in the team that haven't played in a while. I felt like Rob Holding was kind of sloppy, but at the same time, like, he hasn't played in a while. So you kind of have to like take that into consideration, I think. But does anybody think Ramsdale should have done better for Timo Werner's goal? Um, Trevelli says, I can only hit the like button once. You guys make sure you're liking the video, subscribing to the channel. There's almost 200 of you guys in here. That's amazing. Billy says, Ramsdale should have done better, but it was not an error for me. Cool. TJ says, I'm not blaming Ramsdale because Ben White is crap and puts him in trouble, but Ramsdale maybe could have saved that shot. Does anybody think Ben White should have done better on that goal? I mean, I think it went off of Granit Xhaka. I don't think Ben White was close enough to Timo Werner, and we've had those types of goals against us quite often when we just don't get close enough and then it ricochets off of us and it goes in the back of the net. That was a theme last season, but we were kind of off of them a lot in those first couple of minutes. So I can see where that might have looked like a Ben White error. But at the same time, I still feel like it's more fluky than anybody's real fault, if that makes sense. Ray says, I can't really ever blame a keeper when it takes such a big deflection. Would have been incredible if he had saved it. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think what informed that opinion for some people that felt like that goal was his fault was the shakiness in the first couple of minutes. You could kind of tell that Ramsdale, it felt like there was one where somebody shot it from his left and it looked like it was going out, but he still touched it and made it go out for a corner. Then Mount took a corner that looked like it was going in behind Ramsdale, and Gabriel saved it off the line because Ramsdale missed it. He had some shaky punches. So I think maybe those initial moments of him looking shaky made people feel like he should have done better for that goal because it just kind of was confirmation that he's not at the top of his game. I do think Ramsdale has struggled a little bit towards the back end of this season, but I can't forget how he was in the beginning. He's still 23. It's very difficult being Arsenal's goalkeeper. Going from Sheffield to Arsenal is it's no joke. You know, nobody cares if Bournemouth or Sheffield loses games. They care whether or not Arsenal are winning these games. And I think early on in the season, it was really fun for him. He was having a really good time, and reality sets in, I think, quickly for players that are playing for Arsenal. Like, it's no joke. You know, you have to be good all the time. And so I'll never forget how it felt when he first came in and the saves that he made against Leicester and, you know, just his energy and the way that he's really changed the way that we play out of the back. So a couple of shaky games is not going to make me change my opinion on him. I think he was an excellent signing. But he's been a little bit shaky, and it's okay to say that, I think. Yo-Yo says fluky goal. GK says because Holding was blocking his view and it deflected off of Granite. It felt very lucky. RBK says initially I thought it was weird the way that the ball bobbled in, but then Tuchel confirmed it was the pitch. Fair enough. Captain Joka says Xhaka blocked the shot. You imbecile? Is that me? I know you're not talking to me. You're talking to somebody else. Isco says, thank you so much for becoming a member as well, Isco. Isco says, I think he was unlucky. So yeah, it was one of those, but the game always had the feeling of openness and chaos. So I wasn't usually when teams score on us, I'm like, that's it. It's done. But this time I kind of felt like, yeah, we could probably get back into it. And when I say that the goal that ESR scored, that was such a typical Arsenal goal under Mikel Arteta. The bobbling around in the penalty area and Granit Xhaka picking it up, megging two players on the edge of his box, passing it out to Odegaard. Odegaard passes it to Saka. Saka passes it back to Odegaard, and Odegaard passes it to Emile Smith-Rowe, and he passes it into the back of the net, which has kind of become his signature for this season. And it was just quintessential high risk, high reward goal that has come since Arteta has been here. And I loved it. What did you guys think of ESR's performance? I've been critical of him over the last couple of games because I haven't felt like he's been at the top of his game. I feel like I'm lagging. You guys, am I lagging? Because if I am, I need to fix it. But I do feel like ESR was much better today and much more, or much better yesterday. He was bright, he was sprinting. You could tell that he had energy, where I just felt like the last couple games he hasn't really had that. And that goal is really his signature. What does he have? 10 goals this season. Um, I was very happy for him as well. Another Cobham Academy kid turned Hale End kid scoring goals against his old club, which is amazing. You guys let me know. Yo-Yo says Xhaka finally realized that he's meant to replace Santi. Yeah, it's been like 5 years though, you know what I mean? But yeah, like that was Granite was really good yesterday. He was, and his composure in the box was what we needed to get out of that situation. But it was scary, I'm not gonna lie. It could have went so much different. Let me try to fix my camera really quick, you guys. I don't want this lag to continue. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that I want to change my camera really quick. Keep talking amongst yourselves, class. I don't know why I'm having like so many little issues here today. It was going well. Privacy. Where's the camera? Okay. Give me 1 second. Settings. Camera. Yeah, it's lagging. Is that better? Yeah, that's much better. That's much better. Okay, we can continue on. All right, so Granit Xhaka, his composure was great, and I thought Odegaard also had a very good game. And as the captain's like performance yesterday, and I loved it. I loved it. Karumi says Xhaka can get the air out of his game. He can play. Yeah, I mean, if he could not get the red cards, I think that's more what's concerning to me. I don't really this season. How many errors has he actually had? Like those errors where he's gotten picked off and they kicked it in the back of the net. I think it's more the cards and the red cards that's actually been the story of the season for Granite. I do like Arteta has really helped him with his positioning, and that's what's helped him not get the a lot of those errors. But the only one I can really think of that really pissed me off this season was the Liverpool red card. That's it. GK says Xhaka is supposed to be a controller, not a destroyer like Jorginho. Dictate tempo. Just he dwells on the ball too much. I think he's somebody that needs an extra second or two on the ball, and that's why he maybe will never be one of the top midfielders in the Premier League because it's just too quick. But he can be one of the good. He can be good. Like he is actually a good midfielder. So yeah. But ESR, I mean, that it's like a signature now. Just a little boop, pass into the back of the net. I love it. Let's see. Happily Egg says, no, everybody stop and stare at Jess. Oh my gosh, like I don't want you guys like thinking that I don't know what I'm doing here. Like I have so many technical errors today. Billy says, ESR, Saka, and Martinelli can all contribute 15 goals each. We would be top four side every season easily. Especially even if we got like a striker that gave us 10 goals. It's really not like that deep. I don't think in terms of like what we don't get any goals from midfield. I think that's an issue. If we had one midfielder that can contribute 5 goals and a striker that can contribute 10, and those young players can get 5 more goals each, like we would be. I guess that is a lot, but like it sounds like something that could happen. New Wave Youth says that's all you need. Just glide it into the goal. Most players try too hard to do spectacular worldy. Yeah, and it's just become his signature. And I think he needed this game to really get him back on track. Not that I think that he really fell off, but it just felt like the energy wasn't there, the confidence wasn't there, and he had missed like 3 chances that I thought he should have put away, but he put them away this time, and he really should have had 2 goals. So ESR's goal was so nice, and I was just like, oh wow, we came back. Usually we don't come back. We know that, right? Let's see. Olivier says, with 2 goals every game for Eddie, that's 10. Ned says he's had 1 good game. Who? Happily Egg says, I heard El Chapo was buying Chelsea. Yeah, I don't care what happens to them. So yeah, but ESR's goal was great, and it was like quintessential Arteta goal, like, high risk, high reward, a lot of like 1-touch, 2-touch passing. And at that point, we're up 2-1. And I do want to ask you guys what you guys thought about this moment in the game. I think it comes in between Chelsea's first and second goal. But the moment, I didn't really understand why it wasn't even called as foul, but it wasn't even called as a foul. And on the touch line or the sideline that Tavares was on, he receives a ball from Granit Xhaka, and it's kind of bobbling up, but both Tavares and Mount both lift their legs up to kick it. Mount obviously studs up, kicks Nuno Tavares, and not only does it doesn't even get called as a foul. It just goes out for like another throw in. And I just wonder what John Moss is thinking there. Commentary was very split on it. I'll say that for sure. Lee Dixon said that he didn't think it was a foul at all. And Graham Lasso said that he couldn't believe it wasn't at least a yellow. When you rewatch it over and over again, obviously it seems more and more like it could have been more than that. But what really just made me like, was Mount was like, get the F up. And I'm just like, but you literally fouled him right now, you know? And I thought that was kind of like a very strange moment. It was very awkward because I think everybody was like, where's the foul? It was definitely a foul. But do you guys think that it was a red card? Do you think Mason Mount should have been sent off for being kind of like studs up on Tavares' ankle? Seawalder says, again, if Xhaka did that. GK says, Cedric Saka foul. Billy says, straight red for me. Let's see. TJ said that was a red for me. Gerard says, hey, Jess, I came on to see the happy version of you. You're getting her. You're getting her this time around. Happy Jess. We win, I'm happy. We lose, I am raging. Let's see. Z Gould, I did not see your question. Let me scroll up and see if I can find it. Oh, here. I'm going to save it, okay? I'm going to star it. Give me just a second. Let me just finish the section. Let's see. Jeremy Bourne says, hey, Jess, great to see someone like you having such a growing following and producing such quality Arsenal content. Keep doing your thing, girl. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I really appreciate your super chat and your kind words. I love days where I can just sit here and talk to you guys. It's so much fun. GK says you should have had a couple of bookings. Yeah, like, what is it? Is it just, I think they have like this, maybe this, it's the preconceived notions. It's the reputation and the like, Kane could never have done that. Mount could have never done that. But like, if Granit Xhaka does it, he definitely meant it and he meant harm. And I thought it was strange that it wasn't even called as a foul. I can't lie. Hefty says, if it was worse, I'd have been worried. But Nuno went crazy on a crazy run right after. Yeah, for sure. Enzo says yellow at most. Rancid says yes. Mount had 2 horrible fouls in this game. Mount was having a little temper tantrum because things weren't going his way because he's Chelsea, But yeah, settled the ESR Mount debate yesterday, didn't we? So yeah, it was a strange moment. I am glad that like this game didn't come down to a reffing decision against us. Um, I will say that like I'm not sure that we deserve that penalty, but I don't care because we've had a lot of like unlucky moments over the last couple of weeks and we were due. So there you go. Let's see. Ned says because he's known for doing reckless challenges, that's why. I guess you're talking about Granite. Um, sure, fair enough. But you're supposed to just judge the game based on what you see and not reputation and what the preconceived notion around that team and what that player is. That's not refereeing. Because intention behind things doesn't matter. And I think intention comes into play in a moment where it shouldn't. I see Kane do things and they start talking about it wasn't intentional. You don't know what somebody's intention was. You have no clue what they're thinking. So you can only go by the letter of the law. And whether or not they intend to break somebody's leg doesn't have any bearing on whether or not they should be sent off. And so, yeah, I don't think Granit Xhaka always gets refereed correctly. Sometimes I do think it's just, of course he meant to hurt that player. Of course he meant it. And none of that matters. So there you go. I mean, this is somebody who during the Aston Villa game had no fouls, and then the referee gave him a yellow and pointed to places where he had fouled before. That just shows right there that he doesn't deserve to be refereed that way because he's gotten red cards in the past. That's not how it goes. That's not how you're supposed to referee. King Kuhn says, I said this earlier, if we get a decent striker in ESR, Martinelli and Saka can manage 10 goals each, that would be Perez Ljungberg production. Fair enough. Quay, thank you so much for becoming a member. Really appreciate it. Get in the chat box. Let me know what you're thinking. John says, because it's Arsenal, it's not a red. If like it's one of those where if you would put it up on the screen in like if that was Granite and they put it up on the screen in Stamford Bridge and played it over and over and over again, it would easily have become the Aubameyang red card at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace. It's one of those where the more that you see it, the more it becomes a red card. For me, it was definitely a foul, and I think it deserved a yellow. Am I 100% sure that I think it's a red? No, but I do think it was odd that it wasn't even like it wasn't a foul at all. That's just my take on it. So yeah. I really like Askew Sad Face. I do too. The Onyx Lens says, why do I want to wait? Jess, yo, why do I want a world-class physical therapy and training team more than anything? Laugh out loud. I feel like Arsenal always have the worst injuries at the worst time rather than invest in training and scouting. That is definitely something that probably Arsenal fans will want to talk about. I think it is odd that we get more injuries than others, it feels like. I think it is weird that Thomas Partey never had an injury before and gets to the Premier League and just crumbles. So it is definitely something that like I think needs to be looked at. But there you go. There you go. So the second goal, let's talk about it. The second Chelsea goal, I do think that like here's the thing. Okay, so do I think that Ben White got fouled? Possibly. I think it's one of those that depending on the referee, because John Moss was letting a lot go. That's his style. If you've ever watched John Moss referee a game, his style is literally nothing is a foul. Like, so you rarely see fouls given. So in that passage of play, I do think that Mount fouled Ben White. Equally, I can see that like if we had scored that goal, like remember against Watford when we were at home and we scored that goal and Maitland-Niles ran into Ismaila Sarr. Those are the types of calls that hit the gray area that depending on the referee, it could be a foul and it could not be. I'm more concerned about Nuno on the back post falling asleep. He had one job. You had one job and you fell asleep on the job. And Azpilicueta it's such an easy goal to give up. And this is what I'm talking about with Nuno. He's somebody that he is not turned on all the time. He's not always alert. And so defensively, he can become a little bit of a liability. where he really thrives is like defensively. If he's going one-on-one with somebody, he can body them or keep pace or whatever. But when it comes to the thinking part of defending, where it's like stay vigilant, stay on your toes, stay alert, track runners, that's where he gets kind of lost, and he needs to work on that. So although I do feel like it might have been a foul on Mount against Ben White, or however you want to say it, I'm more concerned about him having literally one job. It wasn't confusing at all. It was you and Aspilicueta, and for him to just run in front of you and get that ball, that did annoy me. But Nuno's reaction to that, I think, was more important to me. And the reason for that is he could have easily went into a shell after that and just kind of collapsed. But the very next time that he got the ball, he ran up the pitch and had a cross shot. And I thought, okay, he's not going to let that derail him. And that's the most important thing with Nuno, I think, at this point, is that he's going to make mistakes. He's a young player and very raw, just like the rest of our players. Saka and ESR and Martinelli and Odegaard have been around a little bit longer. They're a little bit more experienced. But Sambi and Nuno are very, very, very raw. Like, it's insane. So they're going to make these mistakes, especially on the biggest stage. So what's most important is how they bounce back. And I think Nuno's bounce back in this game was very commendable, and is the reason why he was very influential in the game, especially for Nketiah's second goal, because that was all of his kind of like hard work and just staying switched on and remembering that just because you make a mistake doesn't mean that the game is done for you. And I want Arteta to work with him, because I think some people do feel like he's somebody that can't play in the Premier League for us. But I think we forget how good he was when Tomiyasu was playing on the right-hand side. The team was really settled and he was confident. His confidence dropped, so obviously his performances dropped. But Nuno is somebody that I do feel like we need to work with. We only spent $6 million on him. Tierney's not very reliable with his injuries, and this summer it's kind of like, do we really want to spend 30-40 million on another left back, or 25, let's just say 25 million on a left back? Or is it worth it to work with Nuno and see what we can get out of it and just modify the system slightly to accommodate him when he's there? I mean, Tomiyasu, I would imagine, would start next season. I think we'll still get a right back, but let's say Tomiyasu starts most games, you can play Nuno off the left. You can. And I don't really want to see us spend more money on a left back when we have somebody there that on his day, when he's playing in a system that suits him, he may make a mistake, but going forward, that guy could really be scary. And so I would prefer to see Arteta really work with him instead of us just kind of throw him away or send him on loan or something like that. Not like I've seen anybody really say that that's going to happen, but I would rather us just work with him. But Nuno's bounce back in yesterday's game was very commendable, and I think that just shows his resilience off of the back of 2 games where he was kind of taken out. The Crystal Palace game, he really was slandered after that game, and so I'm loving the Nuno bounce back. I really am. I just want us to kind of stick with him. Let's see. GK says his shooting, his passing, getting muscled off the ball. He ain't it. Who is that? Is that Nuno? Rand says Chelsea played a better lineup against Crystal Palace. Yeah, they did, and that's why they got smoked. Ray says White has been playing a very risky game recently. Gamemanship is a good thing, but taking risks by diving and hoping the whistle is risky, as is blatant fouls off the ball and hoping no one sees. Yeah, obviously he did that twice. One against Wolves where he tripped Jimenez. He did it again in a game very recently after that. And then the trip kind of that I would say that he manufactured against Wolves when Connor Cody was in on goal. He's not getting the calls anymore. They're just I'm not saying that he didn't get hurt in the Southampton game, but he kind of stayed on the ground for that one and they didn't call it back. He stayed on the ground yesterday and they didn't call that. And so the calls aren't really going his way. So yeah, he is kind of playing a dangerous game and we're not really getting the benefit of it. But I do think when I rewatched the game, he was better than I thought he was. But I think Ben White is injured. I have this weird feeling that that wrap around his knee, I don't think he's 100%. He's not, he's definitely not 100%. Tony says Nuno's pass for Eddie's second goal was elite. Rancid says great pass from Mount and Aspilicueta took the ball just incredibly good. It was a nice goal from them. C. Wilder says I agree. Tony, accurate, fast, not the obvious choice. True. Tony says we can talk about Nuno. Yes, yes, yes. We can talk about Nuno. Yo-Yo says I rate Nuno. I think he can be a poor man's Marcelo. I love it. I I know people will hate me for saying this and say, "Oh, you're deluded," because anytime you give a player a compliment and you compare him to somebody that's like world class, you get slated. But I do think he can be some version of Alphonso Davies for us. Some version, maybe not as good, but some version. I think they're similar in profile in terms of speed, directness, and physicality. He may never be as good as Alphonso Davies. I'm pretty sure he won't because let's be real, Alphonso Davies is a freak of nature. But I do think that we could use him similarly. Like I think Bayern at some point were using like Pavard and their two center backs, and they were kind of like the more reserved. Pavard wouldn't go as far forward, and they would let Alphonso Davies just kind of bomb on. I feel like that's the way you have to use Nuno. C. Wilder says, I want to stick with Nuno. GK says, we may have to go the way Tierney. We may have to the way Tierney's going with injuries. I don't think you can sell Tierney just yet because we just gave him the big contract and he's basically our captain. So I would just say work with Nuno and don't worry about it too much. Because if Nuno can play like Nuno played at the beginning of the season, we weren't missing Tierney. So I think we've kind of already solved the problem. I don't think we need to buy another left back. I think we just have to use it. Let's see. Just Incredible says, what the fuck, Jess? You said the other day that our transfer policy was shit because we signed Nuno. Be consistent. I do think that you have to look at the end of the season. We're Nuno and in particular Sambi as well. Like, were they close enough to the starters to make sure that like when those guys got injured, they can step in? And Nuno was somebody that Arteta wasn't comfortable using. And so you do have to look at recruitment in that. Was he not the right profile? Was he somebody that did Arteta want something different? And so I do think that when you look at the last three games and you see the drop off between Sambi and Nuno and Tierney and Thomas Partey, you can question whether or not those players were close enough. We've already bought Nuno at this point. We've already bought Sambi. So I'm not saying that you have to get rid of them. I think you have to work with them. I don't think you could just burn through resources. But you do have to ask questions around recruitment because you can make a connection between losing Thomas Partey and Kieran Tierney and the drop off between Aston Villa and Southampton. That's what I'm saying. But I do still question that because I do think there's other options that we could have brought in that were closer, and we may not have lost those games because of that. So Arteta being uncomfortable using Nuno for large parts of the season, I do think you have to question it. Just because Nuno had a good game doesn't mean that what I said the other day wasn't valid because he wasn't comfortable using him before. And he has had bad games. So, but I hear what you're saying. Enzo says Nuno is not composed at the moment. If his first thought is not possible, then he panics. Yeah, but he needs more time to play. He needs more backing, I think. He just needs more time. So, I mean, this is the thing is you'll say that like because I question the recruitment, that means that when the player plays well, I should still say that they're shit. That's not how things go. I like all the players that we brought in. But do I think we should have brought in a midfielder instead of maybe one or two of them? Yeah, that was closer to Thomas Partey. Absolutely. Do I think that that's a reason why we could potentially not make the top four? Yeah. But does that mean that I hate Sambi and Nuno? No. Does that mean that when they play well, I still tell them that they're shit? No. So, you know, Saswat says, I think Nuno can be our chaos agent where he comes in as a sub in winning positions for a winger. I think we can mold him into a poor man's Bale instead of just a pure left back. Oh my gosh, he is a chaos agent. I don't think Arteta likes chaos. I think that's something as well. Like he likes players that he knows what's going to happen. He likes repeatability. Yo-Yo says, I expect Nuno to clock more minutes than Tierney next season, especially if Scotland qualify for the Winter World Cup. Fair enough. Fair enough. I just think you have to use him now. Like to go into the market now and to buy another left back, I think would just be like, damn, like, because I don't think any of us want to see any defenders come in this season besides a right back or this summer. So to go back and have to do that would be annoying. Just try to work with him. Let's see what happens. Arteta is supposed to be a manager that can work with young players. I think he can do it. So yeah, I think Nuno's bounce back was great in this game and the last game. And so I would expect him to continue to play. It's just nice to be able to play a left back in the left back position, and having Granite in midfield was great. And so yeah, like I think Nuno's bounce back was exactly what we needed. So there's about 155 of you guys watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Of course, we already kind of talked about it was 2-2 at halftime, and then Eddie Nketiah scores his second goal. Nuno had a big part to play in that one, and it was just Eddie's just heart and desire and those types of things, which is something that I feel like we've been missing over the last couple of games, just not making half chances into full chances by making our own luck. And we did that yesterday, and Eddie did a really good job with that. And I do think that once we got to 3-2 up, I was pretty comfortable, and I thought that we would win the game. I didn't think Chelsea was going to come back from that. But we do have to talk about the penalty, because there's a lot in it, I think, beyond just we got a penalty. Saka put the Euros behind him yesterday, and it's definitely something that I don't think has necessarily held him back, per se, but it's something that I always worried about. Like, okay, so if Lacazette doesn't play, who's going to take those penalties? And Arteta said that Martinelli actually stepped up to take it, and Saka took the ball and was like, okay, I'm going to take it. And I do that really does show the type of player that we have. We have a player that wants to step up in difficult moments and take, the game by the scruff of the neck. And this thing is just not working. And I was worried, I'm not going to lie, when he stepped up to take the penalty. But he just put it in the back of the net so calmly, just like Saka always kind of does. Like, he amazes me every single day, and I'm just happy for him to put that behind him, because it was his first penalty for Arsenal, the first penalty that he's taken since the Euros, and it was just nice for him to just put it behind him. And I wonder if you guys feel similarly, that it was kind of like putting that whole situation behind him, because when he stepped up to take that penalty in the Euros, I just thought, what is Southgate doing? Like, why is he doing this to this young kid? Like, I was very like, this is effed up. And when he missed, the blood just kind of like drained from my body, because I was like, he may not recover from this. Like, players have traumatic moments and never come back from it. And I just worried that he would be shot. But Saka has went strength for strength this season, and this was a big moment for him. And I'm just so happy for him, and I'm happy for Arsenal, because we need a free Saka to win games. Like, he needs to be free of any sort of doubt or anything, and I just love that he did that. Saswa says, people keep acting as if Saka skied that pen beyond the stadium when it was just a simple miss where the keeper guessed right. Happened a million times before. It was natural he'd bounce back. I mean, players before him missed, and there was players that were senior to him that didn't step up for those penalties. So he deserved a lot of credit for even trying to do it. But you know how the game is, it's cruel. And so at the end of the day, he probably wasn't thinking, oh, well, other players could have stepped up, or well, Rashford and Sancho, they missed theirs. He was probably always thinking, I should have done better. And he just put it away. And that's what we want to see from Bukayo Saka. And that's what we come to expect. I mean, the guy is a freaking star. Rancid says Saka is a special player and he showed it yesterday once more. His overall game yesterday was excellent. It was. GK says Arsenal have created the third most shooting chances. How the hell are we 16th in chances created? I don't know where fans get these hater stats from. Yeah, consider the source. Big chances created. Like that is something that came from, I think, SofaScore, or it can't. You have to consider the source, and it came out when we were in bad form. So big chances created is subjective. It's not something that's set in stone. So two different people, two different analysts can look at a big chance and decide whether or not it's big or small. And so at that time, any sort of negative stat that could have come out would have. So you have to consider the source. But I do feel like we don't create enough. I don't feel like we create enough. We definitely don't score enough, but it's never as bad, I guess, as you think, and it's never as good as you think. So I think it's just somewhere in the middle. Um, so let's talk about the penalty. Did you guys think it was a penalty or not? Like, what do you guys think? Because it looked like he was holding on to Azpilicueta's arm. It really did. And I was like, good job. Like, at this point in the season, I really don't care. Like, nothing has been really fair this season. Nothing has really went our way. So something like that to go our way just feels like it was due, right? And so I don't really care what Saka had to do to kind of get the penalty, because things are called on us all the time that I don't really feel like are fair. Am I wrong for that? Am I wrong, guys? What do you think? Was it a pen? Mara says, hell yeah, it was a pen. Talib says soft penalty. GK says if we're 16th, we definitely wouldn't be top four, let's be honest. Yeah, I think you have to take stats. You can always look at stats and make it confirm whatever you really think. And so, yeah, I don't think we're that bad attacking wise, or else we wouldn't be in the top four race, but we're definitely miles off where we probably should be. C. Wilder says Saka won the shithouse battle with Azpilicueta, and it's one of Aspie's powers. Wasn't expecting that from Saka. Yet another string. Did you see, like, after the game, he was doing the little interview with Nketiah, and he was like, he was holding my arm for like 6 seconds. I don't know. I had to go down, and it was just funny. Like, he knows what he did, and I don't care. S says, I just want Saka to perform like he did yesterday more often. S, whatever. You're just happy. You should just be happy that Smith Rowe played well. Kyle JB says Smith Rowe was fabulous as well last night. Talib says Saka will be huge beyond what we can imagine. GK says longer term, I don't think Saka is going to remain on the wing. Where do you think he's going to play then? I've always said that I think that he could become like an 8. If we play kind of like similarly to how Pep plays. I think a lot of our players will be able to play 8s. They'll be able to play 10. They'll be able to play wing. Like, it'll all be the same. Blaze says, Jess, Saka rattled a lot of Chelsea fans when he scored that penalty. When rival fans are salty to see that he scored a penalty, and this will boost his confidence. That means Saka has good potential. Yeah, there was a moment in time where a lot of rival fans were really complimentary of our young players. They were like, oh, Saka, Smith Rowe, they're good, whatever. And then the tide really changed because a lot of the things that they were doing was starting to creep up on the players that they have in their team, their young players, their young attackers. And then it became hate. And that's how you know you're doing a good thing. Rivals don't compliment your players when they think, like, when they're actually scared of them. You know what I mean? So Saka became shit the moment that they realized this season that he was serious. So yeah, Saka's doing a good job. DG dogs bollocks. Is that what it is? What is that? Sorry. So Saka can play where he wants. He was great for us as a backup left back for a while. Yeah, he's one of those that can anywhere. Happily Egg says Saka could be like Salah. Jean-Marc Loba, you're getting blocked, man. You're getting blocked. You're out of here. You're out. Onyx Lens says Saka as a left-sided CM. I think that's his perfect position. He played it last year or 2 years ago against Brighton. I remember that game. That's the Guendouzi game. He did play really well there. He hit the post off a right undershot. That game, he was quality. Yeah, I remember that. I think he could play anywhere. GK says Captain Joka. To be honest, you guys are talking to each other. So yeah. O'Malley says 2 players under 21 with 10 plus goals seasons. That is good, and I think where I've been critical of them, there's still a lot to say that they've really improved. Where I think the improvement in the team is a little bit more, you have to squint to see it in terms of like goals scored, goals against, points, all that kind of stuff. You can't deny that our young players have gotten better. They just have. Like, they've been our best players this season. So there you go. Let's see. But yeah, I don't think it was a penalty, but I'm glad that we got it. And then so we're up 4-2, and the game was already over. The game was over at 3-2, and they didn't really have much else to do at that point. Like, the last 25 minutes they didn't look like scoring. They really didn't. Like, they had a very difficult time. Obviously, we kind of went into our low block, and they had a really difficult time trying to break us down. And we win the game. And then we see Tommy's tears. Nothing was funnier than listening to Thomas Tuchel talk about how he felt like it was the pitch and they scored all the goals and he was crying. Look, this is what happens when you disrespect teams. Like, I've seen you play better teams against Brighton and Brentford. And I know that we were going through a difficult period, but form is temporary. And so it's kind of like for him to just say like, oh, they're just going to be shit again. That was on him. And watching him make up stuff about the pitch, and we had to all play on the same pitch. And yeah, like the balls were bouncing and our passing wasn't slick, but that's your raggedy ass field. So nobody cares. Like, we don't feel sorry for you, like, at all. If it was away, maybe. And this is also something for like fans that are like, oh, Arteta just cries all the time and he always blames other things. Every manager does this. Every manager cries about the field, the lack of rest in between matches. It's just nobody likes to hear it when Arteta does it, because who is he? All managers do it. They all act like they're at some sort of disadvantage when they're not. And Thomas Tuchel is exactly the same. I mean, he was rank yesterday in those press conferences. And I know you're not supposed to look happy when you lose, but he was rank. Like, his face, like he was just, and I was like, this is great. I love it. I love it. Happily Egg says Arteta did really well making the tactical adjustments for this match. He did. And he deserves credit for that. The Onyx Lens says, I want Tuchel as our coach. Sorry, Jess. I'm not talking about him. His pitch comments were sus, but I'll take him all day, every day. Fair enough. I mean, if you want Tuchel to manage Arsenal, then, fair. I'm still going to talk shit. Like, even I want Ten Hag as Arsenal's manager. I'm sad that he's going to Manchester United, but I will talk shit about him while he's there. I will. iGamer says it's his damn pitch. Exactly. It's like, come on. It wasn't the pitch, it was you. Like, come on. GK says, hell ball carrying as well from midfield and in the center backs. That's what we're lacking in that midfield, a carrier. Yeah. So we have a couple of, like, we have Thomas Partey. He's not really a carrier. He's somebody that can wiggle out of pressure, but he's still more of a facilitator and a passer. Xhaka is definitely a passer. We don't have anybody that can get the ball and really carry us forward. We don't have that box to box presence in that way, and we are missing that. Hopefully we get that sorted this summer. I think we will. Tony says, Jess, you weren't there. The pitch was definitely only bad on the Chelsea side. Fair enough. Kyle JB says, Jess, you confident we'll give Man United a beating on Saturday? No, I'm not. I do think that I predict a win, But am I like 100% like there's no way that we can lose that game? No, because I always know that Ronaldo can show up whenever he feels like it. And they have good players that if they show up, they will give us a difficult time. I won't forget the game that happened around in this, what was it, November? We played against them, and they weren't good, and we still lost. So I have to stay grounded, and I do think that our confidence will go up and we'll play a lot better on Saturday than we have been in the games prior to the Chelsea one. But I'm not 100% confident that we'll just win the game because we know how these games are. It's a rivalry. Maybe some of their players will be looking to make make a stand for themselves because of the new manager. You never know. So I just want to make sure I stay grounded, but I think we should win because if we play with any sort of energy and any sort of like intention, they will crumble. They will. Um, and yes, what happened to Maguire is very sad and not right. Um, I know that he's kind of like enemy number one for the United fan base, and for England, it's weird, but the bomb threat, what are you doing? Just talk shit about him at home. Talk shit about him, in the pub. That's fine, but don't be stupid. He's a human being and he may be doing poorly at his job, but that doesn't mean he needs threats. It's just not, it's not cool. Like, it's really not. It's rank. They need to stop. Happily Egg says, I'm confident you can beat United. They are lower than a snake's belly at the moment. They are a disgrace. I really hope so. I mean, if we win that game, then I think we're full speed ahead. The North London Derby is going to be very important, but I think we'll be full speed ahead there. It's going to be close though. Um, but yeah, Tommy's tears, those are great. We played good. We've rebounded. We're back in the top four race. The players showed their quality. Again, like I said at the beginning, I probably was a little bit too harsh on them. The players, I mean. And I feel bad about not really believing that they could come back, and thinking that they would just collapse. But what I will say is that losing 4 in 5 games is not something that shouldn't be criticized for an Arsenal manager. We need to have higher expectations. And I think if those games had been spread out, so if we had lost those games in the mix of good runs, then and we were in fifth or sixth, it wouldn't have hurt as bad. But the fact that it was just like boom, 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 he needed to stop the rot. And so I won't take back the criticism for Arteta because I do feel like it was justified. I didn't say sack him, but I said, you need to get your shit together. And he has, and he deserves credit for what he did yesterday. The players, they're a lot stronger than I gave them credit for. And what I've always said is that I'm Arsenal more than anything. Like, I'll never back a player or a manager over the club. Whatever's best for the club is what I want. But I am more connected to the players than I am the manager. So for me, like, I want these players to have the best possible future at Arsenal because I love them and I think they're actually playing for the badge. For once, we have players that we actually like. Arteta, I'm less sold on. So if I'm somebody that people feel like is just too negative on the manager, I apologize for that, but I'm just not 100% sold on him and the fact that he has to be present for this project to work. I'm more sold on the players than I am him. That being said, would I prefer it to work with Arteta? Absolutely. Do I think he's done really good work up until this point? Yes. Do I think that he's made a lot of mistakes? Yes. And so those are my real feelings. And sometimes that may feel like flip flopping, but what it just means is that, like, I think I'm somewhere in the middle. And I think that that's fair enough. Like, I don't think you have to be Arteta sexual or Arteta out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you have to be it. Yo-Yo says, never left the race. It's a marathon. Arsenal lost momentum and we're at risk at losing even more. Fair enough. Let's see. If our players finished their chances last week, we wouldn't have lost 3 on the bounce. fair enough. You know, if that's how you feel, I do think that he has culpability for Brighton for sure, and I think that that hurt us massively, and we lost confidence because of that. But fair enough. Like, I do think that, especially against Crystal Palace, we could have. Crystal Palace, we had chances, and Southampton, we had chances. So yeah, that's fair enough. Um, so yeah, I know some people are just like, we're just done with Arteta. That's fair enough, you know. But I always said that he needed to finish in sixth or above. That's just where I am with him. Alfie says, who do you think is getting top four? It's so hard to call because I can watch Spurs play sometimes and thinks they're definitely getting it. I watch us sometimes and I think we're definitely getting it. I never really watch Man United and think they're definitely getting it, but then I just think that there's still could just luck through it. So I don't know. I think the momentum is still kind of with Spurs unless they lose another game, you know, then that'll be two on the bounce and then they look like they're losing it a little bit. But I think it just edges Spurs because their last couple games are so easy. And they have to lose to Liverpool. Like they have to. Um, so yeah. But again, all opinions are perfectly valid here. I'm trying not to, of course, I'll go back at you if I don't agree. Like, that's just debate. You know what I mean? But if you're done with Arteta, fair enough. If you're Arteta in, cool. Like, it's fine. Again, where I kind of just sit with it is he has to finish in the top six or above. And I also wanted to see a clear way of play and our players improving. And that's what I'm seeing. But he cannot finish in Conference League, and he needs to have some form of Europe. And he was slipping. He really was. Is what it is. So let's go. Okay. Yo-Yo says, predict Arsenal's next three and Spurs next three heading into the North London Derby. Predict them. Like what will happen? Let me check. Let's see. Because I know what our next three are, I think. I noticed a lot of them disappeared from the timeline yesterday because they thought that they were running away with it. And I was like, it's not that, you're not that far ahead. But I mean, that's how it can feel when you're winning games and you're scoring a lot of goals. It feels like you're running away with it. But okay, Spurs, they have Brentford, Leicester, and then Liverpool. So I think they'll draw away at Brentford. I think they'll beat Leicester at home, and I think they will lose to Liverpool away. So they will have a loss, a win, and a loss. And I think we will have, let me see. Manchester United, West Ham, and what else? I think we will beat Man United. We will tie West Ham, and we will beat Leeds at home. That's what I think. But we all thought we were going to beat Brighton and Southampton and Crystal Palace. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. These little predictions don't hit the same because I never get them right. But so yeah. Let's see. But yeah, I'm just trying to. Oh, here was a question from Z Gould, and I think Z Gould is a Manchester United fan, by the way. Z Gould says, "Do you think Chelsea are any better than Arsenal, United, or Tottenham? I mean, they have an elite manager. That's the difference. They are average. Good teams wouldn't struggle against an average team." Do I think they're any better? I think that they have better quality players. I will say that. I think for what they want to do, the players that they have are not good enough. The players that we played against yesterday, they're not good enough to get them any closer to Manchester City. and Liverpool. That's not it. But the players that they do have, when they are coached correctly, are better than what United and Tottenham and Arsenal could do. In particular, Arsenal and Spurs, because Man United have some players, but they're poorly coached. So I do think Chelsea are better. I think that they've proved that this season. The gap is not that big, but there's a gap there. They went decently far in the Champions League. So I don't want to take anything away from Chelsea, and just I do think Tuchel is a big part of it, but he's a part of the team. Like if you take Tuchel out and you give them Lampard, they probably are fighting with the rest of us. But I still think they have better players. Like I just can't look at that team and say that I feel like Rudiger is not superior to like what we have. I think Reece James is very good. Their goalkeeper is good. Kovacic is very good. Havertz is coming into form. Mount is a very good player. And so I do think that they're better than us. I don't think the gap is huge, but it's there. There's definitely a gap there. And I'm not going to sit here and act like there isn't. So yeah, but that's how I kind of answered that. But yeah. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get out of here. I guess there's a game on right now, so I go watch the game. I'll be back. What can we do tomorrow? Tomorrow, I guess we can do a preview for the game. I haven't really been feeling that well, so I haven't been able to like keep up with the schedule. But I will come on tomorrow and do a preview of our game against Man United. I'm shitting it. I hate Man United, you guys. Like out of everybody, I hate them the most. So I probably won't survive this game. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Like over the span of the show, we've had about 150 in here the entire time. Like I love that. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for joining me, and thank you to everybody that became a member today. I think there's 2 of you guys, and if you send in a super chat, thank you so much. We go again. See you guys on the other. See you guys on the other side. Bye, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I love you guys.